Hello, I'm David Levy and I'm Chairman of Marinet Limited, an independent but not-for-profit organisation with members all around this country who are concerned with the protection of our oceans and our seas around our country.
I'm Stephen Eades, the Coordinating Director of Marinet. We want to talk to you about keeping our seas clean and safe enough to swim in.
Many of you will watch David Attenborough's Blue Planet and have taken part in beach cleans to get rid of the plastic. You may even be considering going to the seaside. That is the reason why I wish to introduce Sand, Sea and Sewage, a Marinet report compiled by our members from around the country.
It tells us that sewage pollution is commonplace. It also tells us what the government and the Environment Agency is doing to monitor and accurately record all this pollution, and what is necessary in order to sort matters out, what Marinet has termed establishing a gold standard.
And it also explains how untreated and poorly treated sewage is full of deadly diseases. So where's the sewage coming from?
It's coming from the sewage works run by the water companies. A lot of this sewage is poorly treated and sometimes is not even treated at all. And even more importantly, it's coming from the factory farms where the sewage from the intensively reared livestock is being discharged without any treatment whatsoever. Now that sounds quite a serious problem. What's the solution?
Well, in the case of farms, it's where they gather and band together, they can take all of their sewage and treat it with anaerobic digestion. By doing so, they create methane, which can then be burnt to produce electricity for the national grid. What's left over is treated sewage, and that can then be used on their farms.
Yeah. I mean, that fits in with the sewage works, because if they upgrade their sewage treatment, then their discharges will be completely disease-free.
Yeah, and don't forget, of course, that on the tides, this sewage that's discharged comes in onto our beaches, and that means building sandcastles is no longer a safe event.
The Environment Agency is responsible for measuring the level of pollution in the sea bathing waters and thus assessing their safety. There are around 400 bathing waters in England, and around 1 in 3, possibly more, is routinely polluted by sewage.
So this sounds a little bit dodgy and even risky.
Yes, and the trouble is the measuring is skewed. The Environment Agency is underreporting the level of pollution, both in respect of how much there is and where it's actually happening.
So let's be clear, are you saying that the Environment Agency's actions are dishonest?
What the Environment Agency is doing is legal, but what we're saying is that they're misleading the public in a number of important different ways. I'll explain that. The law allows the Environment Agency to eliminate severe short-term pollution events from the record. So pollution events on which the quality record is based are actually being eliminated from their calculations. They're doing this at least in 1 in 7 beaches.
Then the time of day when they measure is important?
Yes, the local sewage works will normally discharge in the morning and in the evening, and that's when the levels of pollution will be at their highest. In between those two times, in the middle of the day, they will be at their lowest, and it's in the middle of the day that the Environment Agency is doing its monitoring, with the result the monitoring is skewed.
So in other words, they're avoiding the precautionary principle.
Yes, they are, and there's more, because where you actually monitor is important too. The Environment Agency monitors where it thinks there's going to be the most number of bathers. It does not monitor where it thinks the levels of pollution will be at their highest. even though that there may be a large number of bathers actually bathing where the levels are highest.
So by saying this, you're telling me that they're giving you a false report.
That's what it amounts to, yes. All this sounds disturbing and risky. How risky is it?
The risk in its mildest form can be gastroenteritis, tummy upsets, the kind of things I've seen in children this year. But in a more serious form, it can be salmonella and other parasites from animal waste, and that can lead to more serious health implications. Yes, the risk depends on a number of things. Obviously, if the pollution levels are high, that is very risky. But it also depends on your personal health. And if you suffer from various illnesses yourself, then you are likely to be exposed with high pollution to various diseases.
So that means that in those places where no sewage is going in, they're safe bathing beaches and the risk is virtually non-existent.
Well, that's totally true.
Yes, but what can we as ordinary people do about all of this?
Well, Stephen, I think there's quite a few things we can do. Firstly, I think we have to realise that this is a growing problem, not a shrinking problem. And then discuss it with your friends. Make sure that they understand the implications of what you're speaking about. Thirdly, get this matter discussed at organisations that you know of, maybe even joined to, like the WI, the Rotarians, the Lions Clubs. Make sure that this matter is discussed in our society.
So, what do we do to stop all of this? Well, in the case of the water companies, we have to require them in law to install top-grade sewage treatment at all of their sewage works.
And equally important, the farmers. They must band together and introduce anaerobic digestion to treat all of their animal sewage. Do you think we can honestly help?
Yes, getting something into law is not something that happens very often. So this Marinet amendment to the Environment Bill is a rare opportunity to solve this matter. So I would say contact your MP and ask them to support the Marinet amendment.
And do enjoy yourself at the seaside, and please stay safe.
Thank you for listening.